It sounds like the plot of a movie. A U.S. man was able to hide behind a false identity.
He was the mastermind of a billion-dollar website known as the Silk Road.
It's October morning in San Francisco. The FBI is closing on Ross, the mastermind behind the Silk Road, the biggest black market website at that time. After a month of investigation, they finally corner him in a public library. They make their last move, they rush him, they seize his laptop, and everything was unencrypted. All the data exposed. Thousands of hundreds of logs, thousands of hundreds of proof, transaction, everything on plain text. That mistake sealed his fate. Within moment, the FBI had full access, his entire digital empire. But imagine a different scenario in which Ross' laptop was encrypted at the moment of the seize, locked down with a powerful encryption, using LVM to obscure even further the data. A full disk encryption like LUKS is virtually impossible to break. The only way to access it would be to have your passphrase, the decryption key, that will match the encryption one. The only solution for someone without passphrase would be a brute force. And unless they have a quantum computer, because you still have to choose a strong password, breaking a strong encryption key would take thousands if not millions of years. And guess what? In this video, we'll learn how to encrypt your hard drive. So for this tutorial, we will go with the Kali Linux installation. You select your language, your keyboard, you know the drill. You name your machine, you give yourself a username, a strong password, and here is the important stuff. So you will choose manual for the partitioning. You select your hard drive, make sure you select the right one. So, we want to encrypt our data. But for the system to boot, we need our EFI and boot partition to be outside the encryption. So we will create them now. One gigabyte for the EFI, you flag it as beginning. In the name we name it EFI, and no, not here, up. We use it as EFI. Then we do the same for the boot partition. Here we give it like 2 gigabyte. Usually you give more, but since I'm doing this only for the purpose of this video, and I will delete it after, I don't care. If you plan to keep this system for a long time, I advise you to give like at least 10 gigabyte for the boot partition. So we name it boot, and we mount it at boot, and we good. Okay, now that our EFI and boot partition are done, we will focus on the encryption part. So we create the LVM, the up, we create the volume, we give it the disponible space, you name it, encrypted. Now that it's named, you let everything as default. Mainly this erase data, you have to let it on. Me personally, I will put no, because for this VM will be destroyed just after. If it is a real machine that you use, I highly suggest you to let this to yes. Otherwise, we will have memory leaks. So, I will put no for this video, but you let yes. We're done with this. You choose a very strong passphrase. So I'll explain you why. Basically, this encryption is virtually non-breakable, but it still has one attack vector, which is brute force. So if your password is not strong, everything that you did deserves no purpose. So you have to have a very strong password, and you have to not forget it, because if you forget it, you lost every data that is in this hard drive. Okay. Now we have our encrypted volume. We will create the logical one. We create one and we name it okay. You choose your disk space. And now we create the logical volume. So if you are used to Linux, you know how it works. Me personally, I will put everything on a root partition and I will let 20 GB for the swap. So root, and we said that we will let 20 GB for the swap. So we put 63 up, and we create another one for swap. We name it swap, and we're done. We still have to mount them. So for the root, we'll use it an ext4 and mount it to root, and we can name it root. And for the swap, we use it as swap. Now that you are done, you double check that you didn't make any mistake, and you can continue.
A few moments later.
We let it install everything, and I come back when it's finished.
A few moments later.
So now we can take off your USB key and reboot the system. And every time you will boot to your Kali machine, you will be prompted with this screen. Here, you'll have to put your passphrase that you choose during the installation. And if it's successfully put, you will have access to your drive. Here we go for this tutorial. Now you know how to fully encrypt your installation. I hope it was helpful. If you liked and or found it useful, hit the like button and subscribe.